Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. That's what I'm talking about.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, Global Happiness Specialist and Inner Peace Practitioner. And you know what? I'm going to add another title to my name. I'm feeling that oracle thing. You know, the woman in that really small apartment in the Matrix. You know, that lady that said there is no spoon. I'm feeling that too. But let me just stick with Happiness Specialist and Inner Peace Practitioner for today. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for sharing. The show is growing. Reality Spirituality Radio is growing organically. I don't know how, but I really appreciate the share and the new listeners. The number to call in if you have a question is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. If you have a question, I'm open to all questions, and the questions are about you. The questions that I love answering are questions for clarity, questions that you may have about this journey that we call life. But let me just share a little bit, give a quick introduction, especially to the new listeners. Happiness specialist. What the hell? Who does she think she is? Well, I'm going to ask you this before we go on. In your life, you, my dear listener, on a scale from 1 to 10, how important is happiness in your life? From 1 to 10, how important is it? And when I say happiness, let me explain. It's not about something happens and now you're happy. Happiness is a practiced skill. Happiness is a practiced skill. It is a state of mind. It is a state in mind. Happiness is a vibration. It's an energy. It's a foundation. It is an identity. I'm even going to say it's an identity. When I say it's a vibration, you can feel the difference. And this happiness or this peace, I use the words contentment, peace, being relaxed, feeling balanced, all of that, surrendering to the moment, that vibration of peace. That is my definition of happiness, is the ability to be at peace regardless of what happens and regardless of what doesn't happen. Happiness defined is the ability to be at peace regardless of what happens and regardless of what doesn't happen, because things happen in life. But do the external things, do the external circumstances affect you internally, affect your internal state? That's a question only you can answer. I like to give the visual of you're standing in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in a rowboat. You're standing up in a rowboat, and the storms of life and the ups and downs of life are tossing this little rowboat all over the place. But you maintain this vibration of calm, of peace, of contentment, even the vibration of satisfaction. And also, your state of mind doesn't want anything to change, doesn't need anything to change. In fact, the reason for the suffering is wanting something to be different than the present moment. Wanting something to be different than the present moment. There is a study that I like to cite in the beginning of the show, and all you need to do is Google it. It's called The 5 Biggest Regrets of the Dying. The 5 Biggest Regrets of the Dying, or the top 5 regrets of the dying. And the study was done by a hospice nurse, Bronnie Ware. I love to start off with that because I think that's a powerful, you're on your way out, you have days to live, you have months to live. What are your biggest regrets? I can't think of any more powerful answers than those. And the answers that her patients gave, the 5 biggest regrets of the dying, oh, heck, where are they? Oh, here they are. Because I only remember one. No, that's not true. I remember a few of them. There's only 5. There's only 5. The first one is, I wish I would have pursued my dreams and aspirations and not the life others expected of me. The second one is, I wish I didn't work so hard. The third one is, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings and speak my mind, which is really interpreted as, I wish I could have just been myself. I wish I would have been okay with just being myself. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And the last one is, I wish I would have been happier. You get to the end of life, you get to the end of the road, and you have regrets. I'm going to have to say that in this moment, on this day, if I walked across the street and got hit by a bus, of course there's no buses across the street, but how about this? Get hit by a train, even in a residential area. I have no regrets. Absolutely no regrets. Zero. Not a regret about what I could have said. Not a regret about what I could have done. None. Absolutely not. But guess what? My ego and my mind would come up with something. You know what? I'm going to even change that because no regrets. My ego can't even come up with any regrets. Not at this stage of the practice. When I say happiness is a practice skill, it is a daily practice, and you get no breaks. You get no days off. But the benefits, the gifts, the awards, the vibration, there's not enough money that anyone could give me just to go back to thinking, believing what I used to think in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s, my 50s. Damn it, am I in my 60s? Yes, I am. Yes. You couldn't pay me to go back to a level of consciousness where I wasn't aware of the truth. And what is the truth? What is the truth? The truth is, it's not your circumstances. It's not the relationship you do or you don't have. It's not who won the election. It's not what's going on in the world. It's not the price of gas. It's not the weather. It's not your health. It's not your aches and pains. It's definitely not money. It's not how you look or how much you weigh. It's not your past. It's not your story. It's not your children. It's not your parents. Your happiness, your peace depends on what you practice on a daily basis. The peace, the vibration of peace depends on what you practice on a daily, moment-by-moment basis. You want to feel different? You want to feel different during any challenging moment because we have them. Challenges come. That's what life is. look in the mirror, and just choose another perspective. That's a practice right there. And let me say this. I keep forgetting. Don't believe anything that I'm saying. I love this. Don't believe anything I'm saying. Just try it out for yourself. Test it out for yourself. Test what out, Rebecca? Test what out? That there are behaviors, there are programmed behaviors that subtract, that have been subtracting from your peace and from your happiness. Programmed behaviors. And all it is recognizing the programs, recognizing what is a program. And let me just define a program. A program is anything that you've picked up along the way. Anything that you've picked up along the way that you had to learn. What did you have to learn? You had to learn to compare yourself to someone else. You learned how to blame someone else. You learned how to have attachments to outcomes. You learned how to live in the past. You learned how to live in the future. We all learned how to have a preference. You learned how to worry. You did not pop out knowing how to worry. You learned how to be impatient. Me too. All of these things. It's me too. All of this you learned. You learned about having regrets. You learned thinking that you can waste time. You learned that words are powerful. But let me say something. When you popped out, innately, words are not powerful. I know it's controversial. I know people don't want to get on that train. I get it. Words are powerful. They're not innately powerful. And when you get to a place, so if words are powerful, that means that someone says something to you, they can offend you, they can hurt your feelings, and there's your vibration, there's your energy. And I'm here to tell you the practice is letting go of believing and thinking that words have power. I know I'm getting off into a tangent, but I have so much to share. Let me get back to this. On a scale from 1 to 10, how important is happiness in your life? And that number is going to determine how much you commit, prioritize, and think that it is important. 5 biggest regrets of the dying. I wish I would have been happier. The other question, what is your definition of happiness? I have my definition, but what is your personal definition? And who or what is subtracting from your happiness today? And if you point outside and if you look outside and you find something outside of self, guess what? Anything outside of self, anything external that affects you internally, that can either bring you happiness or subtract from your happiness, we got work to do. Are you as happy? And again, I'm going to say I use the word happy. It's interchangeable with peace, that vibration of peace, that energy of contentment. It's interchangeable. And then you can answer these questions. Can other people hurt your feelings? Can other people offend you? Can other people disappoint you? When I share the solution to can other people disappoint you, when I share the solution of never being disappointed or never having your heart broken ever again, raise your hand. Would you, do you think that would add to a little bit of your happiness and your peace along the journey if you were never disappointed and no one could break your heart? There's only one thing that you practice, only one that you can practice, that will guarantee you will never be disappointed or have a heartbreak again. And that's eliminating all expectations. What? Eliminating all expectations. But when I share that, I get the similar response, which is, that's hard. Oh, that's really hard work. Well, yes, the work is not easy. The work is challenging, but the rewards you can't buy this piece that I'm talking about. Let me get to today's topic. Oh, I can go on and on and on. You, for my regular listeners, you know. But let me get to today's topic. When I say happiness is a practice skill, it's just like any other skill you commit to. It is a daily practice, and the practice determines how much peace you're going to experience on the journey. And the practice has nothing to do with what happens to you. Nothing to do with what happens. It is all internal. You are the one with all the power. Here we go. The topic of today's show is, that's so funny. The topic of today's show is, let me just change this. The carrot in the room. You've heard of the elephant in the room. I'm gonna switch it up to the carrot in the room. And really what I'm talking about is the carrot in the mind, the carrot in your mind. We are all as different as our fingerprints. We are all as different. And again, if you want to call in and ask me a question, the number is 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. I have people, and just press the number 1, and you can just talk to me directly. The carrot in the room. The carrot in the mind. When I say we are as different as our fingerprints, we all have different carrots. And meaning that the mind, which is suspect 100% of the time, will have each and every one of us focused on what we think is important. Now, the tricky part is, when they say the mind and the ego, the tricky part is even thinking, and I'm going to use myself as an example, even thinking that something is satisfying me, even thinking that something is, what did I say the other day? Oh, I accomplished something. Oh, I feel really good. I accomplished this big project. I was working on something for 2 days. I accomplished it. I finished it. Even that mind, it's so tricky, saying that what I am doing is causing me to feel, to vibrate a certain way. And it's good. It's positive. So the positive versus negative, and what I want to say is the lane is to live in the middle. Because if I swing towards, oh, I'm doing something, and this makes me feel good and positive, that means I can also swing to the other side, and what happens, or what I'm doing, doesn't make me feel good. The key is, the journey is living in the middle lane. Living in the middle, the swinging right, swinging left, living in the middle lane, meaning that your vibration is the focus, your energy is the focus, nothing to do with this, oh, this happened and now I feel great, now I'm excited, oh, yes, oh, I feel so good, but what if, and so this is what I'm saying, that moment of excitement, that moment of, wow, what a rush, whatever that is that really makes you feel great. How about just experiencing that emotion without the story on it? See, the carrot is attaching a story to why you're feeling a certain way. The carrot is attaching a story, and each of us are so different, because what someone else is going to look at and say, yeah, that makes me feel great, I'm going to look at it and say, that's okay. So it is a custom job. It is a custom relationship that you have with the universe. I say universe. Some people say God, source, higher power, spirit. Doesn't matter. You know me. The words don't matter. It's a vibration. What are you vibrating? What is the vibration? So let me get back to the swinging back and forth. A couple of days, when I say I had a project I was working on, I was feeling, oh yes, this is done. Yay, pat on the back. I get that. But if I'm going to pat myself on the back here, if I pat myself on the back on this one, guess what? I'm going to feel bad in 2 minutes about something else. The practice is experiencing this life, experiencing and accepting the uncertainty, experiencing and accepting the uncertainty of life, and surrendering to every moment. The carrot is personal to you, my dear audience. Let me just read some of my carrots. These are just carrots, triggers, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to use triggers, carrots. My triggers, my carrots are thinking that or believing that there's been some injustice done. I've talked about the attorney and the handyman, inheriting the house, inheriting my family's house in 2018. The carrot is that is an injustice. Oh yes. Now let me be very, very clear. Regardless of the actions that I take, regardless of regardless of what I do to remedy that action, the action of the attorney, the handyman taking the family house, is a story. Coming back with the universe set everything up. The universe put that or dropped that right on my journey. How does that affect my energy or my vibration? How am I allowing it to affect my energy or my vibration? The stories are suspect. When I say the carrot, what is your carrot? What is your trigger? What let me say what are some of the, you could make a list. What are some of the things that trigger you? The practice is witnessing the mind, witnessing the ego, witnessing the stories. The practice is, okay, let me just go back to this too. Beware or be conscious of labeling your emotions. Labeling your emotions as to, in other words, yes, all of us feel, all of us express, all of us have emotions, but the label, and who is labeling the emotion? That's the key. Who or what entity is labeling your emotions? Good, bad, happy, sad, depressed, angry. What entity is labeling your emotions? So the practice is just to witness self, feeling everything that you feel from A to Z, allowing yourself to feel it, accepting the feeling, and accepting the length, accepting the time that the feeling is present. Accepting the time that the feeling is present. It could be, I'm talking about from feeling glee and happiness and woo, flying, to feeling something different, the opposite. It's never about the external. It's about the stories. It's about the stories that you tell. And this is the reason why I'm feeling this way. This is the reason why I'm acting this way. Who's making that determination? What entity is making that determination? And this is one of the hardest practices. Each present moment is, of course, it's new. Any time that I am triggered, or I am or focused on something that is just that just won't let me go, it's always based on something that happened in the past. I cannot have a judgment without being in the past. People that are, I'm going to just use the word asleep. Scratch the asleep. People that talk about the past in everyday life, I challenge you, my dear audience, I challenge you. How often are you talking about, discussing yesterday, the last moment? And I'm talking from 5 years to 10 years to 20 years. It is an epidemic. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because it subtracts. It subtracts from your peace. It subtracts from your peace, even if, okay, scratch that. The epidemic, the addiction to talking about the story. And in fact, I was on a call with someone just a few days ago, and they said to me, "Oh, I want to hear that story." And that's one of my triggers. That's one of my carrots. Anytime someone wants to hear a story, and I mean, if I'm not speaking, if I'm not on the radio, if I'm not speaking, I'm not. What's the point of telling a story from yesterday in my present moment? And I'm saying this is me. You can tell your stories if you want to, but the constant regurgitating over and over, and usually, let me say this. Oh, I'm going to say 90%. I'm going to say even more than 90%. 90% of the stories are always just bad news stories. Bad news stories, trauma stories, suffering stories. Now, if you told the story and said, "This is what I learned from the stories, and this is what I gained from the stories," you don't have to. Again, don't believe me. Practice. But see, there is an addiction. The addictions are not just addictions of drugs, the addictions of alcohol, the addictions to food, the addictions to shopping, gambling. How about the addictions to telling a story from yesterday over and over and over again, talking about yesterday? But the carrot in the room is what am I going to fill up my time with? What am I going to fill up my present moment with if I'm not telling a story about yesterday? You following me on this? What am I going to fill up my time with if I'm not telling a story about yesterday? Story. The carrot of telling a story. Labeling your emotions. Who is labeling your emotions? Good, bad, depressed, angry. What about the practice of feeling all the emotions, getting through them, because sometimes they linger. Good ones happen, they stay, the other ones happen. Scratch the good, but because of the labeling, the emotions, how about having emotions without the labels? But the addiction is to come up with a label, attach a label to the emotion, and yes, I believe that. I believe that that's why I'm feeling this way. Am I making any sense? Woo! All spiritual work is rooted in self-honesty. And the unconscious, the mind, the ego is very dishonest. Very dishonest, very into telling things and saying things that just are not true. It's not. The reason why I'm angry isn't because you haven't returned my call. The reason why I'm disappointed isn't because of some blame. Now, when you blame your emotions, when you blame how you're feeling on anything externally, it's already a clue. Blaming your emotions on what is happening out there, what someone else did, what someone else said, the state of the world, fear. The reason why you're afraid is because A, B, C, D. What happens is, whatever the focus is on, let's just go back to fear, whatever the focus is on, that fear, and we're talking about getting over fear. Well, fear becomes part of your identity, and then if I say, hey, what if you didn't have any fear? What if you didn't have any fear? That would be like cutting off your arm. Ah! And let's get back to identifying. Let's get back to identifying with these programmed emotions, programmed way of living. Something happens and now I'm ABC. Someone said something to me and now this is why I'm feeling this. This obsession with just talking, and I'm just talking and regurgitating. I'm not putting a judgment on it, but what I'm telling you is it is subtracting from your peace. It is subtracting from your, regardless of what you believe or think, then whatever you think, the continual over and over and over and over and attaching a story to that subtracts. One of the things I want to share, too, that subtracts from your peace and from your happiness and from that vibration of contentment is taking anything personally. It's so easy. It's so easy to take shit personal. It's so easy. I'm going to take it personally. That's personal, what they said, what they did. I mean, you can't get any closer than I am with my only child and what he says or what he does, what he calls when he doesn't call. That's personal. Try to get over that one. It's not personal. It's not personal at all. There is nothing personal in the universe. There is nothing personal in this, nothing personal in nature. There is nothing personal in nature. When the eagle, when the penguin has more than one little penguin child, what is it? A panglet? I'm making shit up now. It's a little penguin, and the weak one and the small one. That one has to die. It's not personal. There's nothing personal in nature, and there's nothing personal happening out here. Trust me, believe it, or practice it for yourself. Scratch that, trust me, believe me. Don't believe me. Practice it for yourself. Practice not taking anything personally. Not even if some activity was done to you. Any activity, any action, any behavior was done to you. It's still not personal. What it is, it's part of your journey. It's part of your journey of discovery. Discovering the mystery of, wow, that happened. I wonder why. Well, we always know the answer. The answer is always the same. Whatever happens to you happens to serve you, happens for your betterment. There are no mistakes made. There are no mistakes in there's no mistakes in nature. Mistake? There are no mistakes. But I know that's not what's taught. I know that's not what's practiced in the world. And you know what? Let me say this. The world, the masses don't value human growth. Don't value personal growth. There's no value to personal growth. If there was, we'd have an award show. We'd have a championship title. We'd have a parade. Personal growth is not valued, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be, does it? Does it need to be valued? No, not out there. The value always comes from within. The value comes from within. And whatever you focus on, whatever you are focused on, how about this? Whatever you fight against. The big thing now is is narcissists. And I was on this app, and where a lot of people talk and share, and they were talking about narcissists, and oh boy, was that all a carrot in the room. That triggered me, because the narcissist is the enemy. It's the enemy. Whatever you fight against, you're creating more of it. Whatever you're fighting against, you're bringing more life to it. For everything that happens in everybody's life, there is a specific reason, and that reason is for you, the individual, to be open to receiving the gift that moment is bringing to you, even though it doesn't feel like a gift. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't look like it. And when you're consciously aware of self in every moment, and the more you practice, the easier, the better, the more you are in tune with the truth, which is, you know what, and trusting, the practice is trust too. How is that serving me, universe? I don't need to know how it is. I just trust that it is. As how opposite my mind and my ego will tell me that it's not. How the hell does it serve me that now I have a hip issue? How is that serving me? This getting older. How is that serving me? Well, it's serving me letting go of this program of thinking that, and that's another one, a program that's thinking of getting older, something wrong with it. Lack of acceptance of different stages of life. Lack of acceptance. There's nothing that's better, the situation is better than the other. The peace is acceptance. The peace to be found is not only acceptance, but recognizing what are your personal carrots. Be aware, consciously aware of labeling your emotions, and ask what is labeling the emotions. Who's doing that? And with what? Not reason. The word is escaping me. and the word is escaping me, but with what information do you have other than a program that you are labeling any emotion? Well, yeah, Rebecca, I feel great. Yes, feel all of it. And let go of the stories, because the stories that are just endless, because the stories come from a knowing. I know this is why I'm feeling this way. I know this is why this happened. And I'm here to say that letting go of that knowing and living in a place where every moment is new, and not knowing, and it's very challenging. I'm speak for myself. It's challenging to let go with all of these things that I identify with, including emotions, and this is why I'm feeling a certain way. My carrots, anybody or anything criticizing this country. I mean, I was raised in a time where it meant something to be a patriot. A patriot. My carrots is this supposedly injustice. My other carrots are people that that are not open enough to have another perspective. How about that one? See, anything I label or anything I look at and think that's different, you're different, or your way of thinking is even that is a carrot for me. Even looking at someone and thinking that, God, they just don't get it. They don't know the truth, and just that disturbance. I'm disturbed. Even that. All disturbance, all challenges come from something that I'm bringing up from the past. I cannot be disturbed about a moment unless I'm dragging the past with me, to me. If each moment is fresh and new and present, and I'm living with not knowing, see, the carrot is knowing. Well, that's all for today's show. I want to thank you for listening to Reality Spirituality. The Truth About Happiness is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. LinkedIn, I have an Instagram handle, Reality Spirituality. I have a few videos on YouTube. Of course, everything is a work in progress. You know, my first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon, and my second book, Program for Unhappiness, is going to be out sometime this year. And until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You're always changing. You're always growing. You're always evolving. Love is patient, and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, global happiness specialist and inner peace practitioner, Rebecca L. Norrington. Have a conscious week, and remember, happiness is a practice skill, and your experience in every moment reflects on what you practice.
Yeah. Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality, spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get Yeah, you're gonna feel good now. Real good.